Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So as you see from the title of this video, I'm gonna show you a game with 95% accuracy. And yes, you heard me right. So it's really rare to have, high accuracy like 95%. Usually it's harder to get above 90% accuracy, but this game is really interesting. And this game was played actually yesterday from the tournament which is happening in Montenegro. This is a European Team Championship. And Magnus Carlsen is also playing in this tournament, so a lot of strong players are playing in this tournament, and it's really fun to watch the games. And yes, let's dive into this game. This is a game between Vincent Keymer, who's a very talented junior from, I think he's under 20 years old, if I'm not mistaken, from Germany. Versus a very strong grandmaster, Viktor Erdos from Hungary. So let's see what happened in this game. So white played with d4, knight f6, c4, e6, g3. So as you can see, white is trying to fianchetto the bishop, and we can get Catalan variation. So d5, bishop g3. So now we have Catalan on the board. So black played here bishop e7, knight f3, castle, queen c2. So all of these moves are standard theory and kind of, well known. So c6 was played, castle, b6. As you probably know, in such positions, when the pawn is on e6, the bishop on c8 is blocked. So black usually wants to push the pawn to b6 to fianchetto the bishop, or to get the bishop to a6. So that's why here black played b6. And then white played knight bd2, and here black played c5. D takes c5, b takes c5, and white played b3, bishop b7, and bishop b2. Bishop b2 was not the best move in this position. Probably taking on d5 was better. White should have taken on d5, and then he could move the bishop to b2. But instead, white played bishop b2, and black played knight bd7. Okay, what was the better move for black? Black should have moved the pawn to d4. Why? Because the pawn is blocking the bishop. And you might ask me, Atousa, why do we need to take and then play bishop b2? Can't black play d4 in this position? No, because now the structure is different and the pawn on d4 is kind of vulnerable here. So here we have a couple of options in this position. We can, for example, play b4 to attack the pawn structure, or even e3 is interesting here, because if black takes on e3, now suddenly this bishop is really strong on the diagonal, and white has more than enough compensation. So that's why taking on d5 and then bishop b2 was the better option. But anyway, white played bishop b2 here, black played knight d7, c takes d5, e takes d5, rook a d1. So white got the position that he wanted, rook e8, and here knight b1. Okay, knight b1 maybe not a great move, because you usually don't want to move your knight backwards, but it kind of makes sense for human, because I think Keymer wanted to basically get the knight to c3 to attack the pawn and also open up the rook. But what was a better move here for white? A better move here for white is to play rook e1 and kind of preparing for this move e4. And if black takes, then we can think about, knight e4, knight c4, or even knight g5 to get the pawn back on e4. But anyway, here black played bishop f8, white pushed the pawn to e3, black played rook c8, logical move, because as you know, we want to get the rook in front of the queen. This is one of the things that you need to know, guys. So here white played knight c3, queen a5, and queen d2. Again, computer doesn't like this move, and computer suggests here knight g5. The idea is to attack this pawn potentially. Of course, we don't want to take it right now because the knight is protecting it, but now we want to take this pawn. So for example, let's say if black pushes the pawn, now we can take the pawn, bishop takes, we can take with the bishop, and notice that black cannot take because we have one move checkmate. So let's go back. In the game, white played queen d2, black played queen a6. Why did he play queen a6? Because after queen d2, white set up a trap. White wants to take this pawn. So for example, let's say if black pushes the pawn to h6, white can take the pawn on d5, and black cannot take with neither pieces. And if black takes, we can just win the queen. And if the queen takes the queen in this position, we have an in-between move or an intermediate move, which is a minor tactical theme in chess. And instead of taking the queen back, immediately, we make a move, we check the king, and after exchanging the bishops, exchanging the knights, then we can take the queen. And in this position, white is up a pawn and white should be winning. So that's why in the game, after queen d2, since white wants to take the pawn on d5, black played queen a6. So black is moving the queen to a safe square, and also now the bishop is protecting the queen. So white played rook fe1, black pushed the pawn to c4, bishop f1, pinning the pawn. Black played knight c5. Knight c5 was a mistake. What was a better move here? A better move here was to play bishop b4. Why? Because white pinned the pawn. Why can't we pin the knight, right? So bishop b4 was a better move, and if, let's say, white goes a3, now we don't need to move this bishop, we can just go for a counter attack. And white's position is really difficult here. But anyway, black played knight c5, so knight c5 is, controlling this square and also making the knight a little bit better. So here, white played knight d4, black played knight e4, attacking the queen, queen c2, take, bishop takes, knight e4, rook b1. Okay, you might ask, why rook b1? So basically, here, the pawn d5 cannot be attacked by the rook because there is a bishop and we can never take that pawn. But we can put pressure on the bishop this way. So white is moving the rook to b1, which is a very nice move, and I would say it's a little bit difficult move as well. So black played h5. h5 is a typical move. When we have this pawn structure, sometimes black is trying to attack the pawns with h5, h4. White played bishop a1, h4, and then white played f3. The knight is under attack, so the knight moved to c5. A better move here for black was to play knight d6. Why? Because black wants to keep this rook open against the queen. So you usually don't want to block your pieces, and that's why knight d6 was a better move here. But black played knight c5, b takes c4, h6 g3, h6 g3, queen h6. Notice that if black wants to take the pawn on c4, white can take with the bishop, and now suddenly we have a strong bishop on c4, which can actually be really aggressive through the diagonal. But anyway, black played queen h6 here, white played queen f2, bishop a6, d takes d5, bishop f1, queen takes f1, and queen g5. Okay, so you might ask, why didn't black take the pawn e3? It seems like a free pawn, right? But now white has a great move here. What can white play in this position? I want you guys to pause the video and find the best move for white. Yes, the best move for white is to play knight f5. Why? Because we are attacking both pieces. So we got a fork, right? And if the rook takes rook, we do not need to take the rook. We take the queen with check. And if the pawn takes, then we can take this rook. And white is up in material and white should be winning. So that's why rook takes e3 is not a good move. And in the game, queen g5 was played. But a better move in this position is to play rook e5. But again, this is not an easy move because you're putting your rook in front of the bishop and potential, discovery checks are here. So that's why in the game, black played queen g5. e4 was played. Knight d3. Look at this nice pawn structure, guys. It's really nice to have your pawns protecting each other. So remember, you usually want to protect your pieces with another piece. Okay, so black played here, but a better move probably was queen takes g3. Okay, white can play queen g2, of course. And black needs to exchange the queens. And probably black didn't like this position because black is down a pawn. The queens are off the board. And white should be winning in this position. That's why here black played knight d3 to make things a little bit more complicated. And after queen takes d3, queen g3, white doesn't have queen g2 move. But anyway, I don't think that black has enough compensation. So white played king f1. Of course, it's a great move. Why? Because if the king goes to h1, black can go for a perpetual check, right? And white is up material. I mean, why would white go for a draw here? That's why king f1 is a great move. Queen h3 was played. King e2. Notice that at this point, Victor Erdos had just 38 seconds on the clock, and Vincent Keymer had 4 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock. So it's much easier for white to play because he has a better position and he's up on time. So this is more comfortable for white. So black played f5, which makes sense. When you are down in material and your opponent king is in the center, you want to open up the position, right? So black, after bishop f5, sorry, I kind of mixed up the moves. So after moving the pawn to f5, white played king d2. Okay, so we cannot take with the pawn because the pawn is pinned, right? And if the knight takes, probably queen takes f5 is there. Although white is still better, but okay, white didn't want to lose that knight. That's why Keymer played king d2, bishop d6 was played, trying to get the bishop into the game. Notice that the bishop cannot check here because the rook is controlling that square. After bishop d6, white played bishop c3, pawn takes, bishop f4 check, king c2, great move, rook takes c3. Okay, black is trying to, exchange his pieces and kind of sacrificing his pieces, but it doesn't work because white has, this knight here and he can even block the rook. So rook takes c3, queen takes c3. Okay, if the king takes c3, I believe we are still winning because after rook c8 we can still play knight c6, right? Yeah, actually knight c6 is the only move here because if the king moves, then the queen is hanging. You don't want to lose your queen, guys. Don't lose your queen. So here white played queen takes c3, rook c8, and then knight c6. Rook c8 seems like a nice pin, right? But we have this move, knight c6, and black cannot take it. So queen g2 check was played, and here Vincent played king b3, and at this point players got extra time because this is the move, this is after 40th move. So here Victor Erdős resigned, and Vincent Keymer won this game. So if you check this game with the engine says that white played 95% accuracy, which is very high. And I wanted to share with you guys this game because this is a very nice tactical game that both players had chances. And also it was in Catalan variation, which is really popular nowadays. I have seen a lot of games. I think I have seen a lot of games even in the World Cup that top chess players playing this line and this opening as white or even as black. So I hope you guys enjoyed this game. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up right now and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care.